says, "We're so glad you're here this morning. If you would rise in body or spirit to sing with us, We Are Not Our Own, 317.
We are not our own.
Earth forms us, human leaves on nature's growing vine, fruit of many generations, seeds of life divine. We are not alone. Earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who we are. Therefore let us make thanksgiving, and with justice sing and aware, give to earth and all things living liberties of care. Let us be a house of welcome, living stone uprooting, living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not our own.
Good morning. Yes, that's me. I'm Roger. I am Roger Jones, and I'm happy to be one of the ministers serving UUSS and to be back. And if you've never seen me before, I really am one of the ministers here. But I'm not preaching today. Our preacher today is Rosemary Dodd, our ministerial intern, and her sermon is about interdependence and justice. Whether you're here in person or participating online, we are glad to be with you. Happy Lunar New Year to everyone this weekend. May the year of the dragon be full of abundance, good fortune, friendship, and peace for all people everywhere. Last Sunday, I returned from a long sabbatical leave, and since I got back, I've enjoyed seeing familiar faces and meeting new people and catching up with UUSS news. My co-minister, the Reverend Lucy Bunch, began her sabbatical last week, and she will come back at the end of June. I can imagine some of you are saying, "Oh no, how can we get by without Reverend Lucy for 4 long months?" Or maybe some of you are even saying, "How can I survive the next 4 months without Lucy up there?" I understand, because I've said that myself. Fortunately, however, we have a wonderful team of lay leaders and staff members dedicated to helping us live out our mission in many ways here at UUSS. And our mission statement says, "We come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world." Toward this end, we honor the Nishanan, Southern Maidu, and Miwok peoples for their enduring commitment to this land where UUSS exists. They have never ceded, left, nor ceased to care for this land. For those on Zoom, if you'd like to follow what's happening today with an order of service, you can click the link in the chat. And the printed order of service is on the table in the back. And everybody in the room who picks up a copy of the order of service will get extra credit for today's service. And for those of you on Zoom, you are on the honor system. If you're new or seeking more extra credit, the Blue Sheet weekly calendar is an important guide to finding activities of interest to you. And you can find the blue sheet on the back table and on our website through a link in the chat. Our weekly message comes out by email every Friday with announcements and a note from one of the ministers. We're happy to send you this email if you fill out a newcomer's form, either by a link in the chat or outside at the greeters table during the coffee time after the service. And after the service on Zoom today, there will be 12 minutes to get acquainted in a Zoom breakout room. So we hope you will stay and introduce yourselves. And if you're here in person, we have coffee, tea, and refreshments, conversation, and opportunities to connect. And in the spirit of hospitality, I hope you will take the opportunity to introduce yourself to just one person that you don't know, or somebody you don't remember that you met before. Just one person as your spiritual discipline. As you may know, something happens today called the Super Bowl at 3:30. Well, here at UUSS, we have 2 pregame shows for you to choose from. And one of them is, if you're new or curious to learn more, the monthly newcomers orientation and tour of the campus starts about 10 minutes after the service. Deirdre and Dave, are you leading that? Would you rise so we can know who to find? There's Dave. There's Deirdre. So grab your coffee and look for them out by the welcome table after the service, and it'll end by 1 p.m. Your other choice is the annual meet and greet with elected lay leaders. If you're curious about how things happen here, what our elected lay leaders do, and what opportunities there are to be of service, please come to the meet and greet over there with our nominating committee, program council, and board of trustees. There will be snacks, but bring your coffee over. And as I pointed, it will be across the patio in the FAS classroom, and you are welcome. Now is the time to turn your cell phone or your watch to silent mode so we can avoid the distraction of ringers and chimes. And as you do that, I have saved the most dramatic and energetic announcement for the last. But Rosemary will give that one.
Hope that you have already heard the good news that UUSS is poised to go solar. That's right. I wear this color anyway, but it's appropriate. So our Board of Trustees has approved a project which will save us, get this, at least $680 per month in utility costs. Ooh. It will conserve energy and reduce our shared carbon footprint. Half of the project's $80,000 cost will be funded by a generous bequest. And the remaining will be funded by donations from all of us. So all throughout February, the Solar Sisters, give a wave if you're a Solar Sister. Oh, there they are. The Solar Sisters are staffing a table in our Sunday welcome hall. You might notice it is very yellow. You can pick up a fact sheet there about ways to donate. You can also send a check to our office, contact our bookkeeper, or visit our website to learn more. And get this, you can buy your very own solar panel, which will live on our roof, for the low, low price of $330. A bargain. All gifts are welcome. And as of Thursday, we have already raised $10,700 from 22 donors. Thank you. Let's light the future.
Maria Isabel Valverde's United in Song speaks to interdependence in a very UU fashion, though not composed for that purpose. The blue, the red, the white, the black, the brown, and all the colors in between. Women and men and everyone who breathes can sing along with me. Your God, my God, our right to believe or not, we all eat from an earth that's green. All bodies, all minds, the young and elderly, we all want to be heard and seen. We dream of a land, of a world brave enough, proud enough to be united in song, to fight for justice and peace.
Good morning. I'm Courtney O'Neill. I'm your worship associate today, and I'd like to invite up Fletcher Fountain, who has volunteered to be our chalice lighter. O spinner, weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting.
That instinct in Anthony runs so deep to sing our children out. But today we have a children's story. This is a folk tale by Phoebe Gilman. Oh, and we can see the pictures. And I can read the words. This is called Something from Nothing, and I wanted to share it with you because when we come together as a community, I watch this room fill up and we create something from nothing each week. When Joseph was a baby, his grandfather made him a wonderful blanket to keep him warm and cozy and to chase away bad dreams. But as Joseph grew older, the wonderful blanket grew older too. One day, his mother said to him, "Joseph, look at your blanket. It's frazzled, it's worn, it's unsightly, it's torn. It is time to throw it out." "Grandpa can fix it," Joseph said. Joseph's grandfather took the blanket and turned it round and round. He said, as his scissors went snip, 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 and his needle flew in and out and in and out. "There is just enough material here to make a wonderful jacket." Joseph put on the wonderful jacket and went outside to play. But as Joseph grew older, the wonderful jacket grew older too. One day his mother said to him, "Joseph, look at your jacket. It's shrunken and small. Doesn't fit you at all. It's time to throw it out." "Grandpa can fix it," Joseph said. Joseph's grandfather took the jacket and turned it round and round. He said, as his scissors went snip, 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 and his needle flew in and out and in and out. "There is just enough material here to make a wonderful vest." Joseph wore the wonderful vest to school the very next day. But as Joseph grew older, the wonderful vest grew older too. One day, his mother said to him, "Joseph, look at your vest. It's spotted with glue, and there's paint on it too. It's time to throw it out." "Grandpa can fix it," Joseph said. Joseph's grandfather took the vest and turned it round and round. He said as his scissors went snip, 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 and his needle flew in and out and in and out. "There's just enough material here to make a wonderful tie." Joseph wore the wonderful tie to his grandparents' house every Friday. But as Joseph grew older, his wonderful tie grew older too. One day, his mother said to him, "Joseph, look at your tie. This big stain of soup makes the end of it droop. It is time to throw it out." "Grandpa can fix it," Joseph said. Joseph's grandfather took the tie and turned it round and round. He said as his scissors went snip, 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 and his needle flew in and out and in and out. "There's just enough material here to make a wonderful handkerchief." Joseph used the wonderful handkerchief to keep his pebble collection safe. But as Joseph grew older, his handkerchief grew older too. And one day his mother said, "Joseph, look at your handkerchief. It has been used till it's tattered. It's splotched and it's splattered. It is time to throw it out." "Grandpa can fix it," Joseph said. Joseph's grandfather took the handkerchief and turned it round and round. he said, as his scissors went snip, 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 and his needle flew in and out and in and out. There's just enough material here to make a wonderful button. Joseph wore the wonderful button on his suspenders to hold his pants up. One day, his mother said to him, "Joseph, where is your button?" Joseph looked. It was gone. He searched everywhere, but he could not find it. Joseph ran down to his grandfather's house. "My button, my wonderful button is lost." His mother ran after him. "Joseph, listen to me. The button is gone, finished, kaput. Even your grandfather can't make something from nothing." Joseph's grandfather shook his head sadly. "I'm afraid that your mother is right," he said. The next day, Joseph went to school. He said, as his pen went scritch, 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 scratch over the paper. There's just enough material here to make a wonderful story.
It's time for RE to make a wonderful story out of what we've given so far in this service. So I'd like to invite all those involved in RE to make your way out towards the back. Crystal is there waiting for you as we sing. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared, and I'm scared too, but here I am, right next to you, You gotta put one foot in front of the other one. One foot, and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other one. One foot, and lead with love.
This is a community of care and compassion, of gratitude and celebration. And we affirm this in our time of joys and sorrows every week. If you would like to let the ministerial staff know of any news that you have, you can find a link to the Joys and Sorrows form in the Friday weekly message email, or you can call the office by Friday every week. A joy and a reason for hope and prayer is that Tahira and Esmatullah are expecting their fourth baby, and Tahira is experiencing initial contractions, so we pray for them for easy and safe delivery. Our member Maxine Cornwell was admitted to the hospital on Thursday and is being treated for an infection. A month ago, Maxine broke a hip and has been in a rehabilitation center since that surgery for that. We extend our love and our prayers for healing and strength to Maxine and her loved ones. Our member Barbara Baker is grieving the loss of her older sister, Diane Schutz, in January, just 2 years after the death of their sister, Kathy Bernard, a member and lay leader in our church. May Diane rest in peace. Many among us today are sending wishes for strength and healing to loved ones who are facing challenges of body, mind, or spirit. Let us embrace these concerns and these hopes with compassion. On so many of our hearts today are prayers for peace and the yearning for a world in which All are safe, and all are free to live and flourish into their full humanity. We recognize also today that there are many occasions of joy and celebration among us. May an awareness of one another's blessings bring us gratitude, and may we find gratitude in the gifts of ordinary life, starting with the blessing of this new day. May we strive to show kindness to one another in good days as well as days of challenge. May the spirit of love keep us connected. Please join me now in a time of centering. Relax your eyes, whether open or closed. And wherever you may be, notice where you're sitting or resting. Notice the contact your body is making with the floor or the furniture, which sustains you in this moment. And let us notice our breathing by taking a deep inhale breath together and pausing briefly, and then exhaling deeply together now. And now a deeper breath. Inhale and then pause and exhale deeply. And as we continue breathing together, please receive these words of prayer. O Spirit of tender compassion, when life brings pain or sorrow, hold us in comfort and bring us peace. As we hold others in our hearts, let us remember that we are held in their hearts and in the loving heart of the universe. O source of human kinship, when we confront setbacks, grant us courage, strengthen us, help us to connect with one another and appreciate the web of connections that sustain us. O breath of life, sustain us today and in the days to come. Enliven our awareness of the ordinary miracle of being alive. Let us find occasions in every day to give thanks. May we find moments to praise the beauty of life. So may it be. Blessed be, and amen. And let us pause for a few moments of personal meditations or private prayers together. Blessed be.
So Rosemary had asked if I could write a reflection about interdependence. And when I started writing this, I realized I had only a hazy idea of what interdependency was. And I also was having trouble thinking of examples of how it applied to my life. So I looked up the definition. Interdependence is the state of being dependent on one another, or a mutually dependent relationship. Knowing the definition now solved my first problem, but it didn't fix my second problem. I still didn't have any idea how to relate to interdependency in my own life. Now, because I'm someone who overthinks constantly, I started thinking about what does it mean that I don't have this slew of experiences of interdependency that I can draw from. What does that say about me? So in thinking about this, I remembered this stereotype that I had read about, and maybe some of you have heard of this as well, about eldest daughters and how they grow up in their families. So according to this stereotype or trope, as children, eldest daughters can often feel like it's their job to keep the peace, to take care of their siblings, and some are even considered role models, the idealistic older sisters. And then as adults, some eldest daughters are said to struggle with taking on too much responsibility. They may feel a need to take care of everything and everyone around them. They may struggle with perfectionism, and they may find it hard to break the habit of people-pleasing and say no. So according to this description, eldest daughters may be great people to depend on, but may not be as comfortable depending on others in return. It just so happens that I am an eldest daughter in my family, and I helped take care of my 4 younger siblings when we were all growing up. In fact, my family used to joke that I was the 3rd parent. Now, my parents never intended to give me too much responsibility, and I don't think that all of the characteristics I just described here apply to me as an eldest daughter. But there were enough similarities that I felt a little called out when I first read about it. For example, as an adult, up until a few years ago, I helped coordinate all of my family's activities, from holidays to group gifts to family outings to holiday dinners. I was a listening ear whenever anyone in my family needed to vent or needed some advice or needed a life plan from a bossy older sister. I was great at those. I was there whenever anyone needed support or even a place to stay. And I don't think that this was bad necessarily. But when I look at this dynamic with my family through the lens of interdependency, I realize that for much of my life, I was focused on providing the support without asking for it in return, or even to stopping to ask myself if I needed it. Apparently, in some ways, I'm a classic eldest daughter. It's hard for me to realize when I need and then to ask for support. And I don't think that I'm alone in this. I think that many of us feel self-conscious, embarrassed, or ashamed to admit when we are struggling, even though we would never judge or shame a loved one who needed support from us. But for us to admit the same needs, to be vulnerable, can feel terrifying. But interdependency is a reality in life. We need other people to be happy and to be healthy. We all have times when we depend on others, when we will allow others to see our vulnerabilities. It can be intensely uncomfortable in the moment. We may be terrified that instead of receiving support, we'll be laughed at or dismissed or shamed. However, this terrifying process of being vulnerable can create interdependency Interdependency, in turn, can create immense trust and build strong bonds. It strengthens resiliency. Being interdependent can make us even more relatable when others see that we're not perfect and we're not afraid to share when we are struggling. Interdependency can help us connect more fully to the world around us and feel accepted for who we are, not in spite of, but because of our vulnerabilities. Depending on others as much as they depend on us is a sign of strength, not weakness, for all of us, eldest daughters included.
I'd like to invite you to get into a different body space with us to sing Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire, number 34. Oh, I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain, as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Oh, I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not begin by love within. The prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control. Our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are free.
This congregation has a tradition and a spiritual practice of giving away half of every Sunday's offering. We have a different community partner working to heal our world that we support every month. And for February, our community partner is Planned Parenthood Marmonte. This organization delivers vital reproductive and sexual health care, sex education, and information to over 220,000 people around Northern California and Nevada, including here in Sacramento. In addition to family planning services, they provide gender-affirming care for transgender people, and in the last year, they have provided abortion care to people traveling from more than 36 other states where the right to abortion is no longer guaranteed. Our connection goes back to the 1960s when the Sacramento office of Planned Parenthood was organized in this congregation by Phyllis Gardner, a lay leader and president of the Women's Alliance and the minister at the time. Organizing meetings were held here, and then it started. And given today's ongoing assault on access to sexual and reproductive health care and sex education, and the assault on the freedom and dignity of LGBTQIA people, our rights, our generosity matters as much now as it did 60 years ago. Thank you for your generosity to UUSS and to our community partner. The morning offering will now be given and received. Thank you. Thank you, Irina, and thank you for your gifts. As Patty and Karen bring our gifts forward, please join me in speaking our unison words of response to the offering. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits.
Unitarian Universalism's current seventh principle is respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. This has forever been my favorite principle, probably because it evokes a really strong image for me, which the others respectfully don't do. And when I think about an interdependent web, personally, I imagine the human world, nature, space, and I imagine each being sitting at the intersection of thin strings of a spider web. The strings stretch invisibly between each one of us and encircle the world, tangling and interweaving. Nationally, Unitarian Universalism is in a time of transition with our value statements. I realize I've talked a lot about this because it really excites me. I realize that I've been preaching about these new statements regularly, and this month I was drawn to explore the new statement of interdependence with you all. In the recent national process to re-articulate these values, the proposed value of interdependence reads as follows. Listen for what jumps out at you. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. This new phrasing of interdependence, which Unitarian Universalists will vote on this summer, takes me further into the web in my imagination. Since Unitarian Universalism is a covenantal faith, meaning that instead of having us each individually promise to uphold the static truth of a creed, we make commitments to one another in mutual relationship. Each of us in our own lives has practices which enable us to be in that relationship of covenant with one another. And one of mine that has embodied the value of covenant, interdependence, and relationship is fiber arts. I went to an elementary school where everyone learned to knit, to sew, to needle felt, to crochet, to embroider, to macrame, to bind books. I could go on. For 2 hours a week in handwork class, our brave, intrepid handwork teacher would wrangle us into a circle where we would practice the skill we were working on at that time. And I started at this school in 3rd grade, and so the skill I imprinted on was crocheting. It's my chosen path. And so now I really see crocheting as a spiritual practice. So let me explain. For me, a definition of spiritual practice that I love is that it is something that cherishes and replenishes the sacred. And our web of life is sacred to me. And so it is so satisfying to draw the threads together into connection and blessing. I love the feeling of yarn in my hands, the tactile reality of making something where there once was nothing. I have long since run out of things I want to make for myself. Long ago. And so I mostly make gifts for friends and family, a way to weave blessings. During my graduate work in divinity school, I got to take a course where we looked at the religious and spiritual lives of abstract artists. And in that course, we talked about our own art practices on the last day. I brought the crochet project I was working on. It was a sweater. And other students brought and shared their own art. People shared poetry, photography practices, music, and we came from many religious and spiritual backgrounds. Buddhism, there were atheist folks, there were a couple Unitarian Universalists, agnostic people, Christians, and Hindus, but what our practices of art had in common were ways of noticing and connecting with the world around us, of processing and communicating emotion, connection, and relationship. A year and a half later, my professor from that course came up to me after my graduation ceremony. She had just returned from a sabbatical where she was not teaching, and she had started knitting with her daughter. She told me she had completed her first sweater, and we chatted for a while about ways she might finish off the project by blocking it, weaving in the ends, getting it into good shape. And she told me that knitting had allowed her space in her sabbatical to spend time with her family while in conversation or even while watching television, and given her confidence in her own artistic expression. She planned to wear the sweater proudly to campus come fall and share the stories of creating it alongside her family with her students. And so, when I read our new statement of interdependence, I see a way to weave a stronger web, because I know that when we make more connections and heal them and notice them, our relationships get stronger and we become more resilient. I know from my own life and from the witness of those around me that when we create relationships of care and respect, of mutuality and justice, our lives are enriched, and the world becomes a better place. Robin Wall Kimmer writes in Braiding Sweetgrass, which I recommend, that each person, human or no, is bound to every other in a reciprocal relationship. Just as all beings have a duty to me, I have a duty to them. An integral part of a human's education is to know these duties and how to perform them. Braiding Sweetgrass describes deeply the ways indigenous wisdom brings interconnection forward, and Robin Wall Kimmer's deep wisdom makes this tangible and real in the ways that plants and humans have co-developed, and her own deep wisdom shares the spirituality around this. And for me, her words show me that we must take the work of interdependence further than our interpersonal relationships, further than the faces we encounter in our daily lives. Unitarian Universalist minister Julian Jamaica Soto writes, "All of us need all of us to make it." The first time I heard that, I was really challenged. Our world is interconnected in ways we cannot see, and so I take it on faith that I owe it to humanity to accept its gifts and work for our collective liberation. And I often chant these words from Reverend Julian to myself to make this more real. All of us need all of us to make it. I grew up singing a pagan chant in my Unitarian Universalist communities, whose lyrics say, "We are the weavers, we are the woven ones." And these lyrics, I love them. They place us in the web of life, but they name the power to structure that web and to tend it. And because I believe interdependence is real, I believe in tending our relationships, noticing and claiming that all of us need all of us to make it. For me, there is no higher power who is going to straighten out all of the messes we humans have made in the world. And so I must not leave anyone behind as I continue in the footsteps of those who have long done the work in untangling knots in our web of life. And when we tend this web in the small ways in our lives, however we do so, we gain the strength and capacity to nurture larger connections which repair harm and damaged relationships. And just as the new value statement of interdependence says, justice seeking, justice making is a prayerful act of care. All of us need all of us to make it. Justice seeking and justice making is self and community transformation through this lens of interdependence. And so let's cultivate spiritual practices that give us the resilience to untangle the knots of injustice and harm in our world, to witness and to look directly at what is going on. And let's give ourselves grace to help one another, to do this work with humility, in accountable relationship, and in community, because all of us need all of us to make it. Let's make time for noticing and processing the moments of connection in our own lives, of interdependence, so that we are able to attend to the interwovenness of our whole world.
Spiraling into the center of the web, spiraling into the center of the web, spiraling into the center of the web, spiraling into the center of the web. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. Spiraling into the center of the web. Spiraling into the center of the web. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. Spiraling into the center of the web, spiraling into the center of the web. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the dream. Spiraling into the center of the web, spiraling into the center of the web. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, are the dream. We are the weavers, we are the woven ones. We are the dreamers, we are the dream.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, please join me in speaking our shared intention. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the days to come.
Let's reach out to one another and imagine the web extending between all of us. It will be here when we are gone. Go in peace, go in love, go and be blessed as you are a blessing, because all of us need all of us to make it. Amen.